brand manager or an advertiser literally is impacted by or has to make a decision across sometimes up to 1,000 different alternatives when it comes to channel choice. They have to decide whether they are going to go online or mobile or PR or traditional route. If they decide it's going to be online, is it going to be podcasts, e-commerce, search, banner? If it's going to be banner, is it going to be rich media or carousels or many other types? So these are like layers of different choices and alternatives, and it's an overwhelming decision. So if you think about it from a decision-making perspective, it's a very convoluted decision. If you think about it from a scientist's perspective, mathematically it's an impossible, close to impossible problem to solve, very attractive. And if you think about it from a firm's perspective, it has huge implications on the top line and the bottom line of the brands. We find really a few very interesting facts. The first one, I think the most surprising one, would be that synergy is a much more nuanced concept than managers usually think about. And more interestingly, it's not the de facto outcome of multimedia campaigns. We show across 4 different categories, about 10 different brands, durables and non-durables, that about 45% of the money managers put in advertising creates synergy, so that's great. However, around 25% of that budget creates antagonistic effects. And that's the amount of failure, when you look at that 25%, that's much more than a manager can anticipate and a manager can live with. So they have to really understand which channels work well with each other and in what budget ranges. The second one is when you compare high budget media and low budget media. You see that the way they contribute to an interaction is not the same. We call this asymmetric effects in our paper. So I'll tell you precisely what happens when you combine a low-budget medium, such as newspapers or internet or radio, with a high-budget medium, let's say TV or magazines. Low-budget medium works to lift the effectiveness of the high-budget medium. So if you have X number of dollars, it makes more sense, although it sounds counterintuitive, that you should put that money in the low-budget medium. So in fact, empirically, we show this in our paper. We use one of the brands in our data sets, and we show that, let's say hypothetically, if a manager has $100,000 additional that they can put in a campaign, and they are trying to decide between, let's say if I put 50% allocation between TV and internet, if you move an additional $10,000 from that 50-50 allocation in favor of internet versus TV, you can have a $30,000 lift in your incremental revenues. So that is a decision with a huge ROI. And any manager would want to know this. And they cannot know this based on hunch. The other finding that was interesting is that, okay, you can spread the channel portfolio wider, but more number of channels doesn't necessarily mean a more effective campaign. Similarly, more money put in an advertising campaign doesn't mean that it's going to be an effective campaign. So it's really a combination of art and science comes from the analytics, and art comes from the managerial expertise or gut feeling, whatever you call it. That you have to find the right combinations of channels and the right spending ranges at the right time so that your campaign is effective. And of course, as I've mentioned in a few minutes ago, combining high budget and low budget media together, we show that it works across categories and brands. You should do 3 things. Invest in collecting high quality data, and then invest in training part of your personnel in analytical methods, so you can find the right machine learning method to answer the right question, and then find somebody who can translate that information so that you can generate actionable insights from the analytical results. So those 3 things are not expensive, and it just requires good planning on the CEO's part.